We're heading toward the small lakeside town of Annecy, at the foot of the Alps. This time we're not taking the freeway, but some of the back roads, so we can see more of the countryside. Letting our good friend Google Maps do the navigation for us took a lot of stress off the driving, especially as we made our way through the small towns and villages.
In 400 meters, merge onto D33. Merge onto D33, then turn left to stay on D33.
They're calling for rain this afternoon, so we quickly check into our hotel and make our way over to the tourist information office to pick up some guides and maps to the town. Our walking tour first takes us to Pont d'Amour, the Bridge of Lovers, where we stop and take in the view. Annecy was beautiful, with the River Chaux, France's smallest, running through its collection of medieval buildings and lined with beautiful flowers. After noticing a young girl eating this huge pot of mussels at this cafe, we decided to eat there for dinner. I had a steak, while Marianne had the mussels. Of course, both served with French fries. The next morning we opted to have breakfast at the hotel. We had to pass up some of the bakeries we were looking at, but that €10 breakfast was well worth it. Today we're heading up toward the Musée Château d'Annecy, a museum located in the castle on the top of the hill. The featured exhibits seem to be dealing with light and shadow. These films were produced in the 1930s and 40s in a method called shadow pin, in which T-shaped pins were inserted into a board and by raising and lowering them produced shadows which formed the picture. The pins are then moved and photographed, producing the animation. This exhibit used glass panels to cast shadows on the wall, while this one just used a pattern of paper cutouts. This one was quite unusual. It used glass shards mounted to a slowly rotating bicycle wheel, then used a lamp to project the images onto the wall. Other exhibits I can only describe as modern art. This animation sort of blends finger painting with erotic imagery. After finishing up a few more rooms of the art section of the museum, we headed upstairs for some beautiful views and more of a historical background of the city. The city's history dates back to the time of the Romans, and the display shows many statuary remains, including materials they used for pipes. But a lot of these displays just showed the natural history of the area. Once outside, we were able to enjoy the wonderful views of the lake and panoramic views of the city. Our museum fees included entrance to the Palace des Îles, the ship-shaped building in the middle of the river, considered to be France's most photographed structure outside of Paris. For many years it was a mint, and then converted into a jail. Back outside, we enjoyed the scenery as we headed toward the park and back to our hotel. Getting caught in a rain shower, we took cover under a tree, but it only lasted about 15 minutes, so we were soon on our way. Our plans were to take the short ride to Les Gorges du Fier, a canyon carved out by the river Fier. Our drive took us through some beautiful country roads, including this beautiful view of Château de Montrier. As the river has entered this softer rock, it has eventually carved this deep channel. This steep, narrow gorge is considered to be one of the oldest tourist attractions in the Alps. Since 1869, suspended footbridges were erected on these sheer cliffs to allow visitors to visit this spectacular gorge. Along the way, there are locations where you can see faces in the rocks. And if you can't find them on your own, there are signs helping out your imagination. Because of the narrow waterway, the river level can vary tremendously. This sign marks the high water level during these floods. At the exit of the gorge, the river cuts into fissures in the limestone rocks, forming a labyrinth of channels and natural formations called convection niches. This part of the gorge has been nicknamed Sea de Roche, or Sea of Rocks. Back into town, Marianne wanted to try some local fish. We found a restaurant serving fara, a local fish caught right from the lake. I had sole, and a yummy cheese risotto, cooked almost like a souffle. The next morning we're on the road again, for a 4.5-hour drive through the countryside. We got a bit of a late start, since I was trying to convince the navigation systems to keep us off the Swiss highways, which we didn't have the proper permits for. But once we got on our way, we had some beautiful sights. Here we stopped at a scenic overview, overlooking Switzerland and Lake Geneva, with the French Alps in the background. Those aren't just clouds in the distance. Taking a closer look, those are the snow-covered peaks of the French Alps. And I'm not sure, but I think that's Mont Blanc. We're heading north toward the Alsace region of France. This area has been bounced back and forth between France and Germany for many years, and you definitely saw the strong German heritage. One of our stops on the way is the Museum EDF Electropolis, in the city of Mulhouse. Running a little late, we didn't get till 4, so we felt a little rush going through the exhibits. It was done quite well, taking you through the first experiments with electricity, then to the first practical machines that used it. This included a lot of the first appliances. Eventually we came to a large room, labeled the Great Machine. This was a giant steam-powered generator that was built in 1901 and ran until 1953, running spinning mills in the city of Mulhouse. Saved from destruction in the 1980s, it was dismantled then rebuilt here in this specially made museum. Today it's run by 2 electric motors and at only a quarter of its original speed. This is how fast it originally ran. With 48 drip oilers and 315 lubrication points that needed oiling every half hour, it took a team of mechanics and oilers to keep it running. The machine is large, weighing 170 tons and producing 900 kilowatts of electricity. But it's time for us to be getting on our way, because our apartment is waiting for us in our next stop, Colmar.